straight down with the opposite bridge, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to look over and bring it straight down, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Beautiful, really.
Straight down, ladies and gentlemen.
We've lost half the population.
Yes. I'd like to welcome you to Aldwych Station on behalf of London Transport Museum. My name is Mike, I'm duty manager here today, and just before we go down and start exploring the station, we have to run over a few things on behalf of London Underground, who own this facility. So you probably read your terms and conditions, but they want me to go over a few things, just in case you missed them. First thing is, when you go downstairs, about 160 stairs down to platform level, and you go down single file and hold the handrail. And if you want to take photos on your way down, feel free to do so, but just stop on the landings rather than photo. Some people seem to do, you don't want to be knocking everyone down in front of you. There'll be a staff member in front of you, leading the way, and one at the back as well. When we're coming back up the stairs, if any of you think you need more time on the stairs, just wait to the back of the group and you can stop on the landings and rest up and regain your strength. Second thing is, this is a vermin-free underground station, unusually, and they want to keep it that way. So there's no eating or drinking anywhere on the station. If however you feel unwell at any point and you need some water, we do have water hidden around the station, so just make yourself known to a member of staff. Similarly, if you need to sit down at any point, just let the staff member know. And the last thing is fire alarm. If the alarms go off, we have to evacuate. You have to follow our advice and directions. And if we're up here, it's very straightforward. We go out where you came in, or there, or through the lifts and to your left. If we're on platform level, though, things could be different. We can come back up the spiral staircase, or if there's a problem up here, we have to go along the tunnel to Holborn Station. Which is why we ask you to wear sensible footwear, because there's a lot of trip hazards and it's quite dark down there. So in the event that that happens, just follow instructions again, and we'd be very careful. We did have an evacuation a couple of weekends ago, but they didn't go down the tunnel. And just like to remind you, your tickets are valid for a visit to London Transport Museum within the next month, so go and catch the Postal 150 exhibition, and you get 10% off in the shop if you want to buy anything there for Christmas presents. And your volunteer guides here today, Richard and Bob, are going to take you around the station to various parts of the station, and in each area they'll tell you the history of the station, pertinent facts about that building, and then they'll give you time to take photographs in that area before moving on. And you're lucky this year, it's the first time LU have allowed us into areas of the station that were never ever used by the public. They were never finished. But the guys will tell you more about that on the trip. Thank you very much.
Morning everybody, my name's Richard, this is Robert. We're both volunteers at the museum and we'll be your guides today. So this is welcome to Aldwych. This is one of about 26 disused stations on the network, but it's the only one that's open to the public. This station opened as Strand on the 30th of November in 1907. So I don't know if you've noticed, but that is 106 years to the day. So happy birthday. It was planned to be the southern terminus of a railway that was planned to be built in its own right. It was meant to feed the theatre traffic in this area. However, before it opened, it was merged with the Brompton and Piccadilly Circus Railway to form the Piccadilly line. If you can imagine Piccadilly line coming down, and instead of just coming straight down to Strand, it then curves off into Covent Garden. So it left this little stub of railway down to here, which was pretty well a white elephant from the start. Also, the closure of many of the local theatres didn't really help ticket numbers, so it was poorly attended from the beginning. You came in through a very familiar looking, I hope, red oxblood tiled entranceway, which is designed by architect Leslie Green, who did a lot of the stations on the network. And it's now a Grade 2 listed building as a result of that. It was built on the site of the Royal Strand Theatre, rather odd L-shaped plot. And unfortunately, they demolished the theatre to build the station, so that didn't help passenger numbers. The station was renamed Aldwych, which is what we now call it, in 1915, and this was to avoid any confusion with the station at Trafalgar Square, which was named Strand, so they called this one Aldwych. And as I said, when you came in, I think you'll have seen the original Strand lettering. There used to be a canopy above the station that said Aldwych, And when the station closed in 1994, they went to take it down. Apparently it fell down. And rather nicely, the original tilework was discovered behind it, which is why it's now called Strand, confusing even though we call it Aldwych. Ticket office was closed in 1922. They were trying to save money, so they knew very early on that it wasn't going to make any money. And they used to then sell the tickets from a booth in the lift. So the liftsman operated the lifts and sold tickets. What you have up here, and I'll give you a bit of time to explore, are some original features. You came past, I hope, and noticed the telephone booths. They are actually original. Booking all windows and signage. There's an original basin and tap from 1907 in the ladies' toilet if you want to go and have a look. All the tile work is original Leslie Green, apart from this behind me, which was put in the 1980s when they decided they had to set up a ticket office. It's been quite nicely done, same colour scheme, but this is 80s, the rest of that is original. You've got Art Nouveau grills above the lift shafts, lifts there, and the lifts are original 1907, although they no longer operate. The final thing is that you're standing on, apparently, the only surviving granitic terrazzo style finished floor, which I think is just fake marble. It's a nice survivor. So the plan is, do have a little bit of an explore here. Don't worry too much about the lifts because we'll be coming up spending a few minutes in the lifts on the way out, and that will be the way you exit. Spend a moment here, then we'll get you down into the station.
Yeah, you can. Lifts operating, which they did by just moving the camera. It's really, when you know, it's really obvious. So this is the lower lift landing, and behind you are the lift shafts. Now, we don't exactly know why, but they must have thought at some point there was going to be a requirement for much greater capacity than was ever needed.
They did have lots of schemes to extend the line, so they put in 3 lift shafts. Now that's enough for 6 lifts, which is an enormous capacity. But as you can see, what they did was, before they opened the station, they abandoned that idea. So these 2 shafts are empty, unused, and always have been. And the only lifts operated in the end shaft. The lift shafts are 110 feet deep. They were dug by hand. I'll show you the interior. Just showing a torch up it. As you can see, they're massive pieces of work. Rather intriguingly, but we can't take you over because the bridges would support it. And they only told us that after we got to the other side. The passageways, that's another lift landing. And that would have been the original entrance to the station. You would have come down in the lift onto that landing and down the 2 other passages to the station. But once they abandoned the work, they simply locked the doors and didn't finish it. So all of these passageways, the landing passages, are unfinished. They're just in rough concrete, which is marvellous because that's the survivor from 1906-7. That's the bit we've been able to open up later and we'll take you into it. Interesting little facts. There used to be a bell in the lifts, and as the train departed from Holborn, the conductor would press a plunger on the platform, and that would tell the liftsman he had 2 minutes to get down here to pick up the passengers. So it gives you some idea of the duration of the journey. There were a whole load of proposals over the years. There's a whole history about possible extra uses for the station. And they planned to extend it to Waterloo. They at some point thought they'd put a travelator in down to Temple. They even considered extending the line down to Carshalton in Surrey. But nothing ever came of that. And we're left with what we have here now. And towards the end, the passenger numbers had fallen to about 450 a day. And the service was only run every 9 minutes. And with 2 minutes walk, it was simply quickly walk from home. And that's what people did. They voted with their feet. The final straw was the original 1907 lifts had been refurbished in the 50s. For about 40-year life, they needed refurbishing again in the 90s. The cost was going to be in excess of 3 million plus another 3 million plus cost on the station. And they just drew a line under it and closed the station. And what that's done is given us this fantastic little time capsule because it's exactly as they left it at that time, unfiddled with some rare exceptions which I'll show you about. So do have a little explore here. I'll go and shine my light up the shop. We don't have too long, but it's worth having a quick look up. If you could come through in small numbers and move.
It was useful anyway.
So they were used in that respect.
I'll just show you a little trick. Let's have a look. We won't be coming up there.
I know. Well, I might in the feed. Right, I'll go there.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to move to the platform on this way. Thank you very
No, we're going tomorrow. 8 today.
Thank you very much.
Orientation, that's heading up towards Holborn. So from the tunnel portal there, you've got about 450 metres of tunnel. Then you're onto platform 5 at Holborn, where there are some wartime offices still existing. And in that direction, that's heading south down towards the Thames Central Station. That overruns about 30 metres long. Platforms at Aldwych are amongst the shortest on the network at about 250 feet. Well, I'll swap the 2 metric because they were built in thick. And I think at some point there was a barrier across this platform, and they didn't even bother to light the other half of it because they were only running a 2-car shuttle most of the time. During both the First and Second World Wars, Aldwych was used as an air raid shelter for local residents. During the Second World War, 300 people sheltered down here on the platform and tracks. And I'll show you this later. They actually were literally in the track. But they then put some work into this. They boarded up the track bed, put 3 tiered bunks in, and they could house 1,500 people down here. And in the overrun tunnels were a canteen and toilets. Well, I don't think they were in the same tunnel. To keep the shelterers entertained, they ran educational lectures and entertainments down here. And they had such people as George Formby and Gerardo and his band played here in live concerts. They were broadcast to America to prove to the Americans that we were still alive and well, and that they would come and join us at some point. They were broadcast by what was called the Entertainment and National Service Association, or ANSA, which was very famous at the time. Although the quality of performance apparently varied, so it could also be called Every Night Something Awful. Interestingly, the performers were on the platform, and the poor audience was literally in the pit. It can't be too comfortable. This station gets used a lot for filming, and over the years it's seen such films as Bond's Die Another Day, Patriot Games, V for Vendetta, Atonement, 28 Weeks Later, and the list goes on. If you go on the website, there's a proper list of all the things that have been shot down here. They've also used it for music videos. When they want an old station, they use this one. When they want a modern station, they use Charing Cross, the old Jubilee line. And they dress it. So these wonderful wartime posters that are on the walls are a month old. They weren't here when we came down for rehearsal. When we came back to the building, the two had appeared from nowhere. So my belief is that somebody's filming a wartime drama down here. It also gets used for emergency services, used it a lot. They practice getting people out under trains or doing all sorts of exercises. They ran a massive exercise running up to the Olympics, where the station was full of extra security services people. Do take time to explore. You'll notice the good condition of the wall on the far right, because it's hardboard we put up for filming. I will just stand at this end of the platform, just shine my torch down so you can see the end of that. Do spend a couple of minutes exploring, and we go. You can see the end of the tunnel there. So that's 30 metres away. And what you have here are 2 doorways that lead through into the other platform.
Not 1900s.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, madam, at the end of the platform. Thank you, guys. If you move down again, the platform. Thank you.
So this is platform 2, which is the east of the tunnel. Anybody got any idea in which direction home? So you saw the tunnel portal on the other platform. That's where that would have been. Behind there is another tunnel 450 metres up towards Aldwych Station. Ripped off at both ends and would have been used for storage, which I'll tell you about in a second. But unfortunately it's got white asbestos painting, so we're not even allowed to open the door to peek through, which is a great shame. This platform was taken out of service in 1970, so it didn't last very long. And again, it was all to do with reduction in capacity. They didn't need the A and an N there.
Yeah.
And a little bit further down you see others, and that's all that's left of it. The other things that are original are the track. Now I talked to you about the station above being a Grade 2 listed building. What you have here is a very rare survivor of a track from the period. And apparently these ceramic insulators on the power lines are a very rare survivor, possibly the only survivors of their time. And as a result of that, this trackbed is a Grade 1 listed artefact. So that's why we're not allowed to down there. There are people who get very excited about these instruments. Still can't let you down there. The other thing to notice is that there's no suicide pit, so no gap between the tracks, because this was built in 1907, and suicide pits didn't come in until the 20s, by which time this had already been taken out of service. The platform was sealed during the Great War, so in 1917, so both ends were sealed. And the National Gallery stored something like a tenth of its collection down there, so 300 art treasures, 300 pictures. And there are pictures of armed guards guarding these treasures. During the Second World War, the tunnels were shared by, amongst others, there's quite a long list of users, and a lot of wrangling about who owned them. The public record office, then the British Museum. There was a tea service stored down here from Buckingham Palace. But the most famous visitors down here were the Elgin Marbles. They were stored here during the Second World War. They were taken out in 1948, well they didn't go back on show until 1964, so where they were then, no idea. They had been brought down in the lifts, but when they came to take them out, London Underground said, oh no, you can't use those lifts, far too heavy. So there are wonderful photographs, if you buy the books, of these dirty great Elgin Marbles being hauled up the stairs you've just come down, over the bridge to the other platform, and taken out by train. Excuse me. Since the 30s, this platform area has been used for mock-ups. It's an ideal space to test how stations would look, how adhesives work. There were lots of odd bits of tiles stuck on the ceiling. As you came down, you saw those pitted tiles. We think that's where they'll have put tiles up to see what it looked like, and then just chip them off. So the little dots of adhesive, taking the tiling off. In the books, again, there's that little area there where it's yellow. That used to be Holborn Station, so lovely mock-up of Holborn there. It's dark blue, I'm not entirely sure why. What you see on the walls, most of the posters are modern fakery, just for film. But the 70s posters are actually genuine 1970 posters. Remain there. My particular favourite is one there for BEA, so that's the precursor to British Airways. But they're a lovely set of posters. The only other one that I think is interesting is that there's a black and white saucer picture, which is a very famous Man Ray poster. I think the original sold recently for about 4,000 at auction. And that's dated from 1938, so it's well worth a look. And if you look closely, it says printed in 2002. So what I'm going to do is I'll split you into two groups. I will take a group at a time through that door into what remains behind there, which I'll tell you about. So if one group's don't take photos, then we'll swap over and I'll be down there.
Well, work your way down the platform.
Do you know that it's free and it's
You may see interesting, that's the AM in Strand. Hidden under there is paper.
Goes on. Yeah, that's right.
So I never went in.
The old unfinished station.
Anyone else who hasn't seen the overrun tunnel?
Right, if you can squeeze forward, and I'll reel there. So this is the other overrun tunnel. This is 30 metres long, heading south towards the Thames. So 100 yards beyond the end of that is Temple Station. What you see at the very end is a very rare survivor, 1907, but original buffers, which they wanted to put in the museum, but I'm rather pleased that they've left. Some of the rubbish is probably just leave it as we find it. It would be a great shame to tidy this station up. Make it really tidy. What you've got here are the two doors that were put in, I think, during the Second World War, when these tunnels were used, one as a toilet block and one as a canteen block. So they had joining doors. You stand in that doorway, you're 2 steps away from the live rails into the tunnel next door. Other survivors from the Second World War, these tiles are original from 1907, but have been painted white because what they would have done here would have been a very dark area during the war, and they painted it white to make it a little bit brighter. But if you look carefully, they've actually painted, you'll see the remains of paint on the steelwork there, the arm ribs. Again, just to make it a bit brighter. Behind you is the wall that went in 1917, and you can see the shape of the brickwork as it's gone in. And that was done to block off and secure the platform area for storage. And there would have been armed guards on the outside here. There's all sorts of remains of gas-type doors and things, if you look very carefully. But that was to secure that area. And if you could come around here, and you look up at these passages. This is the other end of those passages that I talked about that came down from the back of the lift shafts. So this would have been the entrance as planned. This is what I like. This is a survivor from 1907. So we dug these passageways, stopped work on it, blocked it off, shut the doors, and 106 years later, this is what we find. And what I'm going to do is, once you've had a time on the platform as well, I'll take you up to the other end of these. So we go back into these unfinished passageways. This is what we've been able to open this year. And that's got a lovely feel to it. Well, if you only had a brick wall built at home, you could get that sort of white fluorescence, and that's what this is.
What did they do?
This is what they dug. These were the passageways that were originally planned when they thought they were going to have far greater capacity. But the reason they didn't finish them is they knew they didn't need them. So when they had 6 lifts, they wouldn't need the capacity.
Use those lifts a couple of guards.
Yes. So if you want to pull in, I'll very, very briefly show you where we are. For these passageways, as I said, were done when they thought they needed the capacity, but they never completed them. And again, this is one of the reasons I like this area of the station, because it's as it was originally. The only thing they put in new is a sound system so they can evacuate. There are stories, however, that the sniffer dogs won't come into this area, they stop at the doorways. And there's all sorts of other stories about theatre ghosts, which I don't believe in. What I suggest is, so that's where you were a moment ago, at the bottom looking up. This is the first platform you were in. I've got a little plan if you want to look as you go past, but we are basically at that crossroads there. The passageway behind you goes down, turns right, and ends up at the back of the lift shaft, on that landing I showed you originally, through the lift. You came down the brown passageway onto platform 1, across to platform 2, and back up to here. And the spiral stairs are there. So the blue passages are the ones that were never completed. That's where we're standing now. So again, take a few moments to explore, and then we'll show you the lifts. But the concession is we're allowed to bring people in as long as we don't let them use the stairs. Okay, boys. And they do exactly the same then. If you look very carefully in the walls of the lifts, you will find a door to the other lift. And we've got one here, which is where you're standing. And you wouldn't know it was a door, so we can then evacuate the other lift.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, so it was all ready. You're right. Obviously something in the plan. We've got 2 minutes. 2 minutes.